Once upon a time, in a school called Alana, there was a young girl named Kaya. Kaya was 16, bright as the morning sun, and her beauty shone like the stars. Every day, Kaya would wake before the sun rose, dress in a clean school uniform, and head to her classes. Her hair was thick and dark, tied neatly in two small buns, and her face glowed without the touch of makeup. As she walked through the school gates, all heads would turn. "There goes Kaya," her classmates whispered. She was always perfect, always the best. But Kaya did not care for the whispers. Her heart was set on her studies. At the front of the classroom, she listened closely, her hand shooting up to answer questions. Her mind was sharp, her answers always right, and even the teachers took notice. Mr. Bacco, the mathematics teacher, would stumble over his words when Kaya asked questions. Mr. Ocone, who taught literature, admired the way she wrote essays with such thoughtfulness. But Kaya did not notice. She stayed after school when others rushed home, sitting alone with her books as the sun set. One evening, as shadows filled the empty classroom, Kaya was lost in her studies when she heard a voice at the door. "Still here, Kaya?" It was Amoni, her classmate, smiling as she stepped inside. Kaya looked up and returned the smile. "Yes, just finishing some reading." Amoni glanced at Kaya's books, shaking her head with a small laugh. "If I were as beautiful as you, Kaya, I would not work so hard," she said. "You could easily get favors from the teachers." Kaya looked at her friend, confused. "What do you mean?" she asked. Amoni only grinned. "Haven't you noticed, Kaya? Mr. Bacco, Mr. Ocone, they all look at you differently. You could get good grades without all this extra work." Kaya was silent, shocked by her friend's words. She had never thought of her beauty as something she could use. "But that would not be right," she protested. Amoni shrugged and laughed. "Just a thought," she said, leaving with a wave. That night, Kaya lay awake, thinking of what Amoni had said. She had always believed in hard work, but Amoni's words echoed in her mind. Could her beauty make her life easier? As she thought about it, her heart grew uncertain, and for the first time, she looked at her reflection in a new way. The next morning, Kaya woke earlier than usual. She stood before the mirror, hesitant, then opened a small makeup kit, a gift she had never used. Her hands trembled as she applied a light layer of powder, a touch of blush, and a hint of gloss. She let her hair fall softly around her shoulders, and when she looked again, she saw someone different looking back. As she entered the school, Kaya felt the change instantly. Heads turned, whispers grew louder, and even the teachers looked at her with new eyes. In Mr. Bacco's math class, when a surprise quiz came, Kaya panicked for a moment. She had not studied the night before, but she remembered Amoni's words, and as Mr. Bacco collected the papers, she smiled and whispered, "I hope I did well. I really want to keep my grades up." Mr. Bacco blushed, stammering, "I'm sure you did fine, Kaya. You're my best student." And the next day, when he handed back the quizzes, Kaya was surprised to see a perfect score. She knew she had not answered every question right. Amoni's words echoed in her ears again, and she felt a strange thrill. Days went by, and Kaya found herself relying on her beauty more and more. A smile here, a soft word there, and her grades stayed high without the late nights, without the endless study hours. She began to feel free, at ease, and she did not notice the resentment building around her. Other students, once her friends, now looked at her with bitterness. Whispers followed her, but this time they were not words of admiration. She saw them whispering behind her back, and even Amoni seemed to watch her with a jealous gleam in her eyes. She had been the one to plant the idea, but she did not expect Kaya to succeed so well. One afternoon, as Kaya walked down the hall, she heard voices from an empty classroom. She paused, recognizing Mr. Bacco and Mr. Ocone. "Have you noticed Kaya lately?" Mr. Ocone said. "Yes," Mr. Bacco replied. "She's changed, hasn't she? Using those looks more and more." They chuckled softly, but then Mr. Bacco's voice grew serious. "We must be careful. The students are talking, but perhaps we could meet her outside the school, somewhere quiet." Kaya's heart raced as she backed away, realizing the path she had set herself on. She felt a shadow of fear and regret she had never known before. The next day, Kaya walked into school with her hair tied back in the familiar buns, her face bare and free of makeup. She wanted to return to her old ways, to hard work and honesty. But the students' eyes were cold as they looked at her, and the whispers turned to laughter. Imani's voice cut through the classroom, sharp and cruel. "Look, our teacher's pet. Or should I say something else?" Kaya felt her face burn with shame. "What are you talking about?" she whispered. "Everyone knows what you did, Kaya," Imani replied. "Trading smiles for grades, that's all you are." Before Kaya could speak, the school principal appeared, her face stern. "Kaya, come with me," she said, her voice heavy. In the office, Kaya pleaded, "I only wanted to do well. I never did anything wrong." But the principal's gaze was unyielding. "The parents are calling, and you have brought shame on this school. We have no choice but to ask you to leave." Kaya's world crumbled. Her perfect record, her dreams of success, all vanished in a moment. Her parents were heartbroken but determined to find her a new start. They enrolled her in another school, a place far from Ulana. At her new school, Kaya was a different girl. She was quieter, her confidence faded, and the old spark in her eyes dimmed. But as she stepped through the gates, she made a promise to herself, a silent vow that this time would be different. "If this style and direction work for you, I'll expand it into a full-length, continuous narrative. Let me know if you'd like any adjustments before I proceed with the rest." Kaya stood outside the gates of her new school, Ika High. It was not like Ulana. The walls were plain, the buildings weathered, and the uniform colors seemed dull compared to what she once wore. Kaya felt small as she walked through the gates, the eyes of new faces looking her up and down, curiosity and indifference mixing in their glances. She took a deep breath and reminded herself of a promise. She was here to prove herself, to show that she could succeed on her own. The first day passed quietly. Kaya kept her head down, answering only when called, watching from the corner of her eye as the students moved about in clusters, talking and laughing. No one whispered her name here. No one seemed to care about her looks or her past. She sat in the back of the classroom, her books open, her pen poised, ready to work hard as she once did. Days turned to weeks, and Kaya settled into the rhythm of Ika High. She no longer stood out as she had in Ulana. Here, her beauty was just another face in the crowd, and her skills were what mattered. She focused on her studies, spending long hours in the library, working on every assignment, answering each question with careful thought. Slowly, she began to feel a sense of pride again, the quiet pride that came with honest work. One afternoon, as Kaya was studying in the library, she felt someone sit down across from her. She looked up and saw a girl about her age with bright eyes and a warm smile. "Hi, I'm Simi," the girl said. "You're new, right? I've seen you around." Kaya nodded, a shy smile creeping onto her face. "Yes, I'm Kaya," she replied. Simi looked at the stack of books in front of Kaya and grinned. "You study a lot, don't you?" she asked. Kaya shrugged. "I just want to do well," she said softly. "I don't want to make any mistakes." Simi's smile softened. "Don't worry. Ika High is a good place, and the teachers are fair. Hard work pays off here," she said. Her words comforted Kaya, and from that day on, Simi became a friend to her, one who encouraged her and made her feel welcome. Kaya's grades improved with time, and the teachers began to notice her efforts. They praised her work, and soon, she found herself at the top of her class again. But this time, the praise felt different. It was not about how she looked or the charm in her smile. It was about her understanding and the hard work she put into her studies. Months went by, and Kaya grew more confident. She no longer feared the whispers of others, for here, her reputation was built on her own merits. The teachers respected her diligence, and her classmates admired her dedication. She became known not for her beauty but for her wisdom and kindness, and she felt a peace she had never known. One day, as she walked home with Simi, Kaya looked back at Ika High, a small smile on her face. She had found a new life here, a life built on truth and integrity. And as the sun set over the school, casting warm light on the walls, Kaya knew that she had finally left the shadows of Ulana behind. And so, Kaya's journey continued, a story not of beauty or charm, but of strength, growth, and the quiet triumph that comes from staying true to oneself. As the seasons changed, so did Kaya. She became an inseparable part of Ika High, someone who was both respected and admired. Her teachers entrusted her with responsibilities, knowing she would complete them with dedication. Her classmates often came to her for help, and she gladly shared what she knew, explaining things with patience and a gentle smile. Kaya had found her place at last, a place where she felt valued not for how she looked, but for who she was and what she had to offer. One day, a school competition was announced, an academic contest that would bring together students from several schools in the region. The principal called for the brightest students to participate, and Kaya was chosen to lead the team from Ika High. It was an honor, one she accepted with both pride and humility, for she remembered the days when she had taken such things for granted. As the contest approached, Kaya and her teammates worked tirelessly, spending late afternoons in the library, poring over books and practicing with each other. Simi was part of the team too, and together they encouraged their classmates, laughing and sharing moments of joy and struggle. Kaya felt a new kind of happiness here, one that came not from being at the top, but from working alongside others, learning and growing together. When the day of the contest finally arrived, the air was filled with excitement. Kaya felt a twinge of nervousness as she stepped onto the stage with her team, but the sight of her friends and teachers cheering in the audience gave her strength. They answered question after question, working as a team, and when the results were announced, Ika High was declared the winner. The room erupted in applause, and Kaya felt a sense of accomplishment that filled her heart with joy. As they celebrated their victory, the principal approached Kaya, his face beaming with pride. "You've done us proud, Kaya," he said warmly. "You've shown us what true excellence looks like." Kaya thanked him, her eyes shining with gratitude. Word of her achievement spread, and soon even her family, who had been hesitant when she first came to Ika High, heard the news. Her parents, who had watched her struggle and grow, were filled with pride. Her father hugged her tightly when she returned home, his voice thick with emotion as he said, "We always knew you had it in you, Kaya. You've shown us what true strength looks like." Kaya's story became known throughout the school, a tale not of beauty or favor, but of resilience, of the power of second chances, and of the strength that lies in integrity. And though she never sought fame or admiration, her journey inspired others to look beyond appearances, to work hard, and to find pride in their own efforts. Years later, when Kaya had grown and moved on to greater things, students at Ika High would still speak of her. They would tell new students about the girl who had come to their school, who had once been lost but found herself through hard work and humility. They would remember how she showed them that true success is not given but earned. And so, Kaya's story lived on, a quiet echo through the halls of Ika High, reminding those who came after her that true beauty is found in one's character, and that integrity is a light that shines brighter than any smile. As the years passed, Kaya's story transformed from a tale shared in hushed tones to one woven deeply into the fabric of Ika High's legacy. New students would hear about her from their teachers, who spoke of her with a kind of reverence. Kaya's story was retold to remind each new generation that success was within reach of those who embraced honesty, resilience, and hard work. Kaya went on to excel in her studies and eventually earned a scholarship to a prestigious university far from home. She had dreams of becoming a teacher, inspired by the mentors at Ika High who had seen her potential and encouraged her during her hardest times. She wanted to give back, to be for others what her teachers had been for her, a source of strength, wisdom, and hope. During her time at university, Kaya dedicated herself to her studies, just as she had done before. She became known not only for her academic prowess but also for her kindness and willingness to help others. Many students looked up to her, and her professors admired her humility and dedication. Kaya continued to carry the lessons she had learned at Ika High with her, never forgetting the value of hard work and integrity. When she graduated with honors, Kaya returned to her hometown and accepted a teaching position at Ika High. The principal, who still remembered her as the determined student who had once walked through the gates with hope and resilience, welcomed her with open arms. It was a full-circle moment for Kaya, one that filled her heart with gratitude and a renewed sense of purpose. As a teacher, Kaya became a beloved figure at Ika High. She was known for her gentle approach, her unwavering belief in her students, and the way she encouraged them to be the best versions of themselves. She told her own story to those who needed to hear it, sharing the trials and triumphs of her past to remind them that no mistake was too great to overcome and that true success was built on character, not shortcuts. In time, Kaya became more than just a teacher. She became a mentor, a friend, and a guide for countless students who passed through the doors of Ika High. The legacy she left was one of integrity, perseverance, and kindness, and her story continued to be told long after her teaching days had ended. And so, Kaya's journey came to rest within the hearts of those she had touched. Her story became a lasting legend at Ika High, one that whispered through the halls like a gentle breeze, encouraging every student who walked through its gates to strive for greatness, not by seeking favors or shortcuts, but by embracing the strength that lay within themselves. And thus, the story of Kaya lived on, a story of redemption, of the power of second chances, and of a young girl who, through her courage and resilience, had left a mark on the world that would never fade. Years passed, and Kaya's influence spread beyond Ika High to the entire community. Her former students, now grown, carried her lessons with them into their own lives. Some became doctors, engineers, artisans, and even teachers themselves. Whenever they faced a difficult choice or a moment of doubt, they would remember her words and the example she set. That true strength came from honesty, resilience, and hard work. One day, Kaya was honored at a community gathering, an event attended by past students, colleagues, and townsfolk who had witnessed her impact. People took turns sharing how Kaya's wisdom had guided them, how her kindness had comforted them, and how her belief in their potential had pushed them to reach higher than they ever thought they could. Kaya listened with humble gratitude, her heart full as she saw the fruits of a journey in the lives of those she had touched. Among the crowd was a young girl named Nia, a current student at Ika High. Nia was shy, often overlooked, and uncertain of her own abilities, much like Kaya had once been. When it was her turn to speak, Nia stepped forward and looked at Kaya with wide, admiring eyes. "Ms. Kaya," she began, her voice barely a whisper, "I always felt invisible until you noticed me. You made me believe that even someone like me could do something meaningful. You taught me that who I am is enough, and that my future depends on the work I put into it. Thank you for showing me that I can make my own light, just like you did." A tear slipped down Kaya's cheek as she took Nia's hand and smiled. "Nia," she said softly, "you are more powerful than you know. Believe in that power, and let it guide you. Let it remind you that no matter where you start, with honesty and hard work, you can build the life you dream of." That night, as Kaya looked out over the gathering, she realized that her story had come full circle. She had once been the girl searching for a second chance, and now, she was the one giving others the courage to create their own. The legacy she had left would continue to grow, like seeds planted in the hearts of those she had touched, each one blossoming in its own time. And so, Kaya's story became more than just a tale of one girl's redemption. It became the enduring spirit of Ika High, woven into the fabric of the community. Her name was no longer just a memory, but a beacon of hope for generations to come, a reminder that with patience, resilience, and the courage to stay true to oneself, anyone could rise above their circumstances and make a difference in the world. And in that small village, Kaya's legacy lived on, a gentle light guiding the way for those who followed, forever a part of the lives she had touched. As the years drifted by, Kaya's story became something of a legend in the village. Children heard it from their parents, who themselves had been students of Kaya, and each generation passed it down like a treasured folktale. But unlike most legends, Kaya's was no tale of magic or fantasy. It was a story of the human spirit, of hope and redemption, and of the transformative power of kindness. Kaya herself grew older, watching the world around her change. She witnessed her students grow up and lead families of their own, each one leaving their own mark in the community and beyond. Every once in a while, one of her former students would return to Ika High just to visit her, bringing their children to meet the woman whose story had shaped their lives. She welcomed them with open arms, each reunion filling her with pride and gratitude for the path she had chosen long ago. One evening, As Kaya sat under the old mango tree at the edge of the school grounds, she was joined by an old friend, Simi, who had also become a teacher at Ika High. They had stayed close over the years, bound by their shared experiences and the journey they'd taken together. "Kaya," Simi said, her voice warm with admiration, "do you ever wonder what your life would have been like if you hadn't come to Ika High? If you hadn't met the people who saw your true worth?" Kaya smiled thoughtfully, watching the sunset cast a golden glow over the school. "Sometimes," she replied, "but I know that everything happened as it was meant to. The mistakes I made, the lessons I learned, and the people who guided me, each of those moments led me here. I think, Simi, that life is a way of teaching us what we need to know, and sometimes we have to take the harder path to find our purpose." Simi nodded, her gaze softening. "You became that guiding light for so many, Kaya. I don't think you'll ever truly know just how much you've changed this place, how many lives you've touched." Kaya took a deep breath, feeling the weight of those words. It was true. Her life had been filled with purpose and meaning, far beyond what she had once dreamed. The girl who had arrived at Ika High so long ago, lost and ashamed, had transformed into a woman who had found strength in herself and taught others to do the same. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the last rays of light over the village, Kaya looked around her and felt a deep peace settle within her heart. She had lived a life of kindness, integrity, and resilience, and in doing so, she had become part of something much greater than herself, a legacy of hope that would endure for generations. In the quiet of that evening, the spirit of Kaya's story whispered through the air, finding its way into the hearts of those around her. Her tale would live on, forever woven into the soul of Ika High and the community that had embraced her, a timeless reminder that with courage and kindness, any life, no matter where it begins, can become a beacon of light for others. And as the stars began to twinkle overhead, Kaya knew that her journey had come full circle, a life well lived, and a legacy that would shine on forever. Years flowed by like a gentle river, carrying with them countless students who came and went through Ika High's doors. Kaya's legacy became a cherished tradition at the school, and her influence remained woven into its fabric even after she retired. She spent her later years in a small house on the edge of the village, not far from the school she loved, where she could still hear the laughter and voices of students drifting across the fields. Even in retirement, students would come to visit her, seeking guidance, comfort, or just a moment of wisdom. Parents, who had once been as students themselves, would bring their children, introducing them to the woman who had inspired so many. Kaya welcomed each of them with warmth, her eyes still bright with the compassion and wisdom that had defined her life's work. One autumn, the village held a grand celebration in Kaya's honor. It was a festival not only to celebrate her life, but also to recognize the impact she had on generations of students and the community as a whole. People from every corner of the village gathered under lantern-lit trees, sharing stories of Kaya's kindness and influence. There were tears, laughter, and a deep reverence for the woman whose teachings had become part of their lives. That evening, the principal of Ika High, who had once been one of Kaya's first students, took the stage. Holding a small plaque engraved with Kaya's name, he addressed the crowd. "We are here today not only to honor Kaya's contributions, but to carry forward her message," he began. "Her story will forever be part of this community, to remind us that no matter where we begin, each of us has a light within, capable of illuminating the lives of others. Kaya taught us that we could find strength, not in shortcuts, but in character." As the crowd applauded, Kaya stood, her heart full as she looked out over the many faces she had come to know and love over the years. She felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude for the life she had lived, for the lessons she had learned, and for the lives she had touched. With a steady hand, she accepted the plaque, her voice steady and warm. "Thank you all," she said. "I am humbled and grateful for each of you. My story is just one of many here in this village, and my hope is that each of you will carry it forward in your own way. Remember, we all have the power to uplift and inspire, not just with grand gestures, but with small acts of kindness every day. Together, we keep this legacy alive." As the celebration continued into the night, Kaya sat with friends, family, and former students, surrounded by laughter and love. She felt at peace, knowing that her story would live on not just in words but in the lives she had shaped. In the years that followed, her tale became known simply as Kaya's Light, and it was shared at Ika High as part of the curriculum, a reminder of the values the school held dear. Kaya's life became a beacon, a cherished piece of village heritage, reminding everyone who heard it that with honesty, resilience, and a compassionate heart, anyone could make a lasting difference. And so, Kaya's light never faded. It continued to shine, warming the hearts of each new generation, an eternal part of the village she had once called home. Kaya's presence became a cherished memory, yet it was as if she had never left. Her story was recited every year during a gathering at Ika High, where students and teachers alike reflected on the values she embodied. Over time, Kaya's Light became an integral part of the community's culture, guiding not only the young but also the elders who found comfort in her legacy. The village even created a small scholarship in her name, awarded each year to a student who showed dedication, honesty, and resilience, qualities that defined Kaya's life. This scholarship gave deserving students the opportunity to pursue higher education, bringing her influence beyond the village's borders and inspiring hope in places far and wide. It was known as Kaya's Gift, a symbol of encouragement for those willing to work hard and uplift others. As the village and its people grew and changed, new generations carried her teachings like a gentle flame. Even those who had never met Kaya felt as though they knew her through the stories shared by their parents and grandparents. Her wisdom lived on in small, meaningful ways: a teacher's patient guidance, a student's kind gesture to a struggling classmate, or the way the villagers looked out for one another. Years later, the once small village grew into a bustling town, yet it retained its humble roots. The mango tree where Kaya used to sit with her students remained standing, a symbol of resilience and growth. Ika High, now a prominent school, built a statue of Kaya beside the tree, her figure cast with a warm expression, as if she was still there, encouraging students to rise above their circumstances. The statue became a beloved gathering place, where students would sit in the shade and discuss their dreams, their worries, and their plans for the future. It was as if Kaya herself was there, her spirit entwined with the tree, listening to each voice with compassion and kindness. One day, a young girl named Zara, a descendant of one of Kaya's earliest students, visited the statue. She had heard the stories of Kaya from her family and often came to this spot to think. Zara dreamed of becoming a teacher, inspired by the tales of Kaya's kindness and wisdom. Sitting beneath the tree, she whispered her hopes aloud. "Kaya, I want to help others the way you did. I want to make people feel seen and valued. Please guide me." A gentle breeze rustled the leaves above her, as if answering her quiet plea. Zara closed her eyes, feeling a deep sense of peace wash over her. She knew in her heart that Kaya's legacy would live on through her, and through all those who came to this place seeking guidance. As Zara stood to leave, she placed a hand on the statue, feeling a connection that transcended time. With Kaya's spirit to guide her, she felt ready to make a difference in her own way, carrying forward the light that had once ignited so many lives. And as she walked away, the statue of Kaya stood tall and proud, its silent presence a reminder of the power of kindness, resilience, and the light that one person could bring to the world. In this way, Kaya's story became not only a folktale but a living truth. Her light, once kindled by her own struggles and triumphs, continued to shine on through generations, illuminating lives in ways she had only once dreamed. And so, the legacy of Kaya's light endured, forever a part of the heart and soul of the village she had called home, a testament to the difference one life can make.